Ms. Laurel Schreiber, who is my constituent and friend. Ms. Schreiber is owner of Lucy's Pocket in Allison Park, Pennsylvania. Lucy's Pocket sells a variety of children's clothing as well as embroidered baby items such as bibs and blankets. Ms. Schreiber sells her products both online and in her store. Welcome, Ms. Schreiber.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Committee, thank you.
Please turn your microphone on.
Talk. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you today about the effects of the CPSIA on my business. My name is Laurel Schreiber, and I have a small home-based business called Lucy's Pocket. I sell monogram gifts for children through my website. As the CPSIA now stands, I, as well as thousands of crafters, seamstresses, artists, and others that market safe, handmade items to children under the age of 12 will be put out of business. As small business owners, we are looking to you to make the legislative changes that will allow those of us that have been creating safe items to continue doing so. As it relates to my business, there are two major and substantial problems with the CPSIA as written: the redundant testing requirements and the comprehensive labeling mandates. All the items I sew onto or make myself are made from commercially available textiles, ribbons, threads, and other materials. They come from wholesale suppliers as well as retail stores. A majority of the items I purchase from wholesale suppliers have general certificates of conformity, which attest that the items have been tested for lead and or phthalates and have passed those tests. I also purchase items from large retail stores who are unable to provide GCCs, although they have tested their products prior to placing them on their shelves. Due to the CPSIA, I will have to test each individual item prior to selling it. And though an enforcement stay for testing has been issued for textiles, there is no guarantee it will not be rescinded at a later date. The enforcement stay does not include items with buttons, snaps, zippers, or other non-textile parts. In order to have my one-of-a-kind items tested, I will need to create two identical items. The wet method used to test for lead destroys the original. From the testing companies I have contacted, the cost to me is about $75 per component. A component includes the fabric, the thread, and any other material that makes up that product. I brought several examples of my work to show you how this expensive redundant testing will put me and those like me completely out of business for good. One of my most popular items is an applique bib and bloomer set. The basic set contains, at a minimum, 12 components. The components include 4 threads, 2 dyed fabrics, a 2-part Velcro closure, elastic, poly cotton fabric, 100% terry cotton fabric, and 100% cotton binding. To test those 12 components will cost me $900 to prove the bib and bloomer set don't contain lead. If I use a plastic back bib purchased from a retail store, then I'll need to add an extra $375 to prove that it doesn't contain the illegal phthalates. So testing for that set will range from $900 to $1,275, and it sells for $20. I also create monogrammed hair bows. They consist of a metal clip, 2 types of thread and ribbon. I have GCCs on file showing that the importer has tested the clip and it is free from the lead level. It will cost $300 to test that bow, which sells for $5. And I also I create monogrammed headbands, which we had talked about earlier. The headband's made of plastic, so it has to be tested for phthalates as well as the other components for lead. As with my other items, I have GCCs on file from the importer showing the headband does not contain the illegal phthalates. To test the components of the headband, plus the phthalates, will cost $675. It sells for $9. Because each of my items is unique, I'm unable to batch test. Redundant testing is not necessary. The air in my house, the sewing table I work at, it's not lead infused, it's not lead filled. Items coming out of my home will not be contaminated with lead. A safe material coming in will go out as a safe product. If the redundant testing requirements didn't put me out of business, then the labeling mandates would. As of this August, each and every item going out of my studio must contain a permanent label that contains information like the source, date of manufacture, and batch. For a business that creates one-of-a-kind items and less than 5,000 or so a year, this is an unnecessary hardship. Permanent labels are not technically feasible for many of my items, and procuring permanent labeling supplies is an incredibly expensive proposition. My business is a way that if I were to find out there were a problem with the issue, I could pick up the phone and call my customers. I and many others like me started creating handmade items as an antidote to mass-produced, possibly unsafe toys and clothing originating from China. Many of us have young children. We are very aware of the dangers of lead poisoning, but we use safe materials and we create safe products. We're willing to alter our methods to ensure compliance, but with the way the law is written, we'll be forced to shut down completely. We're asking for common sense in the law. We've written letters, sent faxes, made calls. We're safe, and we just want to be legal. But the unintended consequences of the CPSIA are showing this will be absolutely impossible. I'll have to close my doors. And once I close, I will not be supporting my suppliers or other businesses. And they may not be affected hugely by my loss, but there are a lot of businesses like me. So once you start multiplying the effects, it becomes readily apparent that the CPSIA is going to absolutely kill the handmade industry, and the ramifications are going to be beyond definition.